Yeah, good day, viewers, wherever you're watching OGTV live across the globe. I welcome you to your darling station, OGTV, and on your sweet program, Peace and Conflict Resolution. We'll be looking into bad parenting, fueling insecurity. And I have in the house Dr. Ademolu Okuneye. You're welcome to the program.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Next to Dr. Ademolu here in the studio, I have Chief Adebayo Ifeoluwa Adesanya. You're welcome, sir, Chief.
Thanks so much, Mr. Presenter.
Yes. Before we go proper into the matter, we'll go on a very short break. And when we come back, we'll dig deeper into the matter. I am Oba Seunfunmi Ogunleye. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. Yes, like I said, the topic we'll be looking into bad parenting and fueling insecurity. And before I go into that, let me introduce proper and say one or two things about my guest in the house. Dr. Ademolu Okuneye is a retired Deputy Director, News in National Television Authority, a fellow of Society for Peace Studies and Practice here in Nigeria, one-time National Publicity Secretary for the Society for Peace Studies and Practice in Nigeria, the first state chairman of the SPSP, and what do I mean by SPSP, Society for Peace Studies and Practice in Nigeria. A broadcasting guru, I must tell you that, and you will confirm that. A fellow of Kofi Annan International Peacekeeping Center in Accra, Ghana, and a fellow of United Nations International Training Center, UNITA, Dr. Ademolu Okuneye. Thank you for coming. You are welcome to the show.
I appreciate you, Seunfunmi.
Thank you. And Chief Adebayo Ifeoluwa Adesanya, you're welcome also.
Thank you.
Let me also tell you about Chief Adebayo Ifeoluwa Adesanya. Apart from being a public analyst, he's a principal partner at Dayo Adesanya Chambers. He's major in litigation anyway. He's a reader, widely traveled and exposed. He has master in laws and social work. He's pursuing his PhD. Any moment from now, he will become a doctor, a PhD holder, and a public analyst, like I said. Chief Adebayo Ifeoluwa Adesanya, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Like I said, bad parenting, fueling insecurity. How do we relate bad parenting, fueling insecurity? Dr. Ademolu, do they have anything to do together?
Well, very much. Very much in the sense that when it comes to any issue or any development, the foundation is always very, very vital. The foundation of a personality is very, very important. When you talk about the socialization strata of man, parents are always the first contact for a child. From infancy, it goes a long way, especially when you even take a look at either the physical growth, physiological growth, behavioral pattern, even intelligence quotient, and the other factors concerning a child. It is very, very vital concerning what and how the child will grow. What is the future of the child? How will the approach of the child look like or be like? And one thing we must be conscious of is the fact that each time there's a contact between a parent and a child, there are information that also go into the system of the child. When you see a child and you smile, it tells the child that he is comfortable.
Yes.
And he smiles too.
Yes.
When you see a child and you communicate with a child, you are telling the child you are safe and secure. And psychologically, the child is imbibing this. But in a situation where you see the child and you sort of demonstrate those negative behavioral pattern, the child is also taking that into consideration and is also imbibing such. When you are too aggressive to the child sees that as the mode of operation in terms of behavioral pattern. And when you are so violent, there is also that impression. So the foundation actually makes a child. The environment, what type of environment are we in? In a situation where a child grows in a violent environment, the child sees that as the best means of communication, of behavioral pattern. And so these are issues that parents must put into consideration while actually raising a child. And so when you talk about insecurity, when a child sees the dad or the mom fighting and being aggressive to each other, they just believe that
It's
it must
normal.
also, it's normal. But when a child sees an environment where there is that love, care, communication, peaceful communication, and those traits that are really very positive, the child sees it as the normal behavior. So parents have a very good role to play in raising a child to actually pursue a pattern in terms of peaceful atmosphere and also other factors that can promote security, national unity, and development. And similarly, this is where parents must also be very careful. And that's in the area of caregivers.
Caregivers.
Yes, occasionally we do have caregivers when the parents will not even be around. And the caregivers attend to the child when the parents are not at home. But who is this caregiver? What is the background of this caregiver? What is the caregiver bringing into play concerning the child that is being raised? So these are some of the factors that must be considered, especially in interacting and developing the behavioral pattern of the child.
Thank you, Dr. Ademolu. Let me come to you, Chief Adebayo.
Very well.
You see, how do you identify a good parent and a bad parent? Because the result is coming to the society. There is this say that says, wise parents strive to build, bad parenting is equated and with foolishness as it tears down the household. So how do we identify good parents and the other one?
Very well. Thank you so much, Mr. Seunfunmi. You see, parenting has got to do with parenting styles.
Parenting styles.
Yes. Now, we have different kind of parents. We have the single parents. That means that person is a caregiver and also the care provider. A caregiver is the person that takes care of the child. A care provider is the person that provides the finances for the running of the home. Now, you can have a father and you can have a mother both training a child. The father can be the caregiver while the mother be the care provider. It can also be the other way around. Because we are in a society where so many things are not organized. So a woman can have a good job that can feed and fend for the family today, and she loses it tomorrow. And she comes home to become the caregiver. The man can also have a very good job at the time of marriage. He is the care provider and he loses it tomorrow and comes home without anything. And these indices is all about causes and effects. Loss of employment can lead to bad parenting. Because if you don't have money to run a home, you don't expect that home to function.
That's true.
Because you're already lacking in your own responsibility. Now, the family is the smallest unit of governance, or let me say the smallest unit of the society. If any family is not doing fine, and you have majority of such family within a circle of society, you don't expect anything good from that society. That's why cases of divorce should be treated with care, particularly when there are children of the marriage. Because if you quickly let them part ways without making provisions for how these children will grow, it will still end in bad parenting for that child. And it's nobody's fault. Because the government is not unlawful for you to marry. Are you getting it?
Yes.
It's not unlawful for you to give birth to a child. But it becomes very bad, morally wrong, when you cannot fend for that child. You gave birth to the child. The child has become the citizen of the government. If you are to be in a developed society where everything is more organized, they will take away that child from you. They will look for a foster parent for that child, where the child will be well taken care of. If there's no foster parent to take care of that child, they will take the child to an institution where the child will be looked after, morally, academically, in all, just because they don't want this child to be a problem for the country or for the society years later. But in a situation when that one is not in place, then you now begin to see that bad parenting fuels insecurity. Now, insecurity itself as a concept is very, very wild. There is insecurity of emotions. When a child comes, when a child comes from a broken home, you will see him, he will be living in anxiety. He might not have manners. When you see a child coming from a home that is well trained, he will greet you first. Yes. Because he knows that you are older than him, not because of anything, not because he wants anything from you. He doesn't want any favor, but he knows the traditional manners of where he's coming from. So you see the traits in him. But when you see somebody that does not have home training, maybe he's from a broken home, or he's from a single parent, or he's from even a caregiver that does not care. Because whether you're a caregiver or you're a care provider, you must care for the welfare of that child. You must care for the way the child behaves, the way the child talks, the way the child thinks. And every caregiver or care providers now have a very large duty, because there is cyber insecurity. Now, if you give your phone to a child and watch the child surf the internet with your phone, you will know the way the child thinks. A child was in my office one day, and now the child was craving for my phone. The mother was trying to caution the child, and I said, no, let me see what he thinks of a phone. And I gave him my phone, and I told him that my data is on. And he said, yes, I want to use it. Do you know the first place I went to? Where? YouTube. When he got to YouTube, he entered search. And do you know what he imputed there?
Yes.
Satan versus Jesus.
Wow.
You will know that this kind of child has been going to church, or he has been going to the mosque, or he has a religious background or religious training. He's listening to something religious. But if you give your phone to some children, you'll be very shocked at the pornography sites that they know. Yes. And they are still underage. It is as a result of bad parenting. Maybe while the mother was using the phone, she left the phone with the data, with the sites she was checking, and automatically you don't expect that child to be too intelligent to avoid certain sites that are meant for adults. So before you know what was happening, you have exposed that child to the insecurity that exists on the cyber. Because the cyberspace is meant to be controlled by an adult. No government, no society will come and control your own cyberspace, no? So because of the cyber insecurity which we're exposed to, because insecurity is just exposure to danger, that's all. And if there's an exposure to danger, there should be security measures that should curb the risks. Now, a parent has the duty to put in place those security measures that will secure that child from accessing dangerous sites to the child. But if you don't secure the sites that you can enter in the cyberspace, you have failed as a parent. You're a bad parent already. Now, that is a moral stand to determine what is bad or what is right. Does the parent even know? The concerned parent, the concerned caregiver, does he know? If there is no awareness on how you can make use of the device you call your phone, it will also be an endangered product to the growing of your child. Because when there is anxiety, there is violence, and the child is exposed to emotional trauma, the child will not be able to manage issues of life thereafter. Such a child can be picked up by bandits and programmed. And before you know what's happening, you will have child suicide bombers. You have people that carry weapons, carry arms, and they don't give a damn about life. They can shoot and kill at any time, causing physical insecurity. Now, if people are not malnourished with respect to knowledge of certain facts, you might not be able to brainwash them to engage in crime. Some people stay in an environment where crime is prominent. Whether you like it or not, any child that grows up in that environment would also follow that pattern of that behavioral pattern, as the doctor said earlier. If that child is exposed to danger very, very early, he will see it as a way of life. And before you know what's happening, the insecurity issue will span to a social problem. So the insecurity as a concept goes a long way to determine how the parenting style that should be adopted. If you understand the strength of insecurity, you understand that the parenting style you adopt determines the product you get. Now, what are the parenting styles I'm talking about? There are some parents that have a military parenting style. They use force to drive home their points. It might make that child violent. Any little thing you slap the child. Any little thing you smack the child. The child will also see any of his colleague that does anything wrong and fight him.
Slap them.
And will become violent.
Yes.
But if you teach a child to be subtle, use words to communicate your pain. Pain is a feeling.
Yes.
Anger is a feeling. But there's a way you can express it in a decent manner. If I'm angry with you, I might choose to be quiet just because I don't want to make any drama. But if you grew up in a place where if you're angry, you spark the TV. If you're angry, you smash the phone. If that child will emulate such.
Certainly.
Your wife gets you angry before you say Jack Robinson, you have started using foul languages. That's a very bad parenting style. If any child grows up within that neighborhood, the child will also be vulgar. There are some persons that cannot tell you are stupid. They can't say it. If you have a friendly workplace, you see so many of these products. People that manage their anger. And there will now be security.
Okay. Chief Adebayo Adesoya, you've really delved into that. And before we go further, let's quickly go on a very short break. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back to the show. And I still have my guests in the house, Barrister Adesoya and Dr. Ademolu Okuneye. They are still very much around doing justice to the matter today. Dr. Ademolu, we cannot underemphasize or overemphasize the position of religion, the education. Because religion as well is also a way of educating children. And I don't know if you've come across a man that will tell the wife, if you are going to church or mosque, don't go with my children. But how do we handle this when a man is not allowing children in the way of God?
Well, when you talk about issues of conflict or insecurity,
yes,
one of the major challenges to safety or security or peaceful coexistence is the role of religion. The issue of indoctrination is something that is really very serious. And churches or mosques or even the traditional means of worship are supposed to actually instill the fear of God on the child. They are supposed to actually raise the child in the way that is supposed to be peaceful and also promote unity and development in the society. But you take a look at who are the leaders of some of these religions. How are they interpreting the holy books? How are they influencing the behavioral pattern of the child? Take a look at what is happening in the Middle East, or even when you talk about terrorism. Are you aware that some of the people that are into terrorism actually got involved as a result of their earlier recruitment as a child? For some terrorist groups, there are classes organized as part of training for the child to grow on the need to see the other person as a very bad personality. My brother here spoke about a child surfing the website and then also checking on Jesus versus Satan. You may not know the purpose for which he was doing that. Some people will tell you that they actually prefer even satanic approaches to issues than Jesus' approach. Religious leaders, also matter. I had actually seen the type of situation where you talked about the fact that a husband telling the wife, "Don't take my children to the church. Don't take my children to the mosque," and that is a way of indoctrinating them into another path which are not the right ones, and that the way they go about life is such that you must do things this way or the other. So somehow, I don't know whether you have also watched one video where a child was asked, "What would you like to become in future?" And the child said he would want to be a killer. People were saying, why would a child of 7-year-old say he wants to become a killer? The question is, where is that child coming from? Where did he get his idea from? What are the factors influencing? In a situation where the child had attended some meetings or activities and had been told that even for you to achieve this, when you talk about salvation tells you, that's in religious matter, salvation tells you to actually make heaven, this is your approach to life. When a Muslim will talk about, they will talk about Al-Jannah.
Yes.
When a Christian will talk about, they will talk about salvation, you're making heaven. Even when the traditionalists also talk, they still talk about God. All religions always preach salvation. I'm not discriminating.
Okay.
But you see, the approach is, how do you deliver your messages to the children? Some religious leaders, I think they have problems. And that's why some parents can also say, don't take my child to this and that. But notwithstanding, the best avenue for molding a character for the best in terms of security is supposed to be the religious places. Okay. But then we must also be conscious of the fact that some religious places are also the means through which
they can educate.
So they can also worsen the situation of a child development. So we must be very conscious of this.
Okay.
Especially when we are raising a child. Which church is my child going? Which mosque is my child going?
Okay.
Who are the leaders of these churches? And who are the leaders of this mosque? And who are the leaders of even the traditional method that people are approaching? Then who and who, in terms of peer groups, yes,
okay.
And my child also mixing up with.
Okay. Dr. Devon, before we actually, I don't think we can, those are observations that we should take into the considerations. And that, I think our viewers out there should find answer to those questions. Who are who? The peer groups, the kind of settings that you are involved in. And Barrister Adesoya,
Very well.
Because of our time, in 1 minute, what would be your advice to our viewers out there, especially parents?
Very well. In advising, we can take cognizance of the fact that we want a peaceful society.
Yes.
And we cannot have a peaceful society if we don't have peaceful people. If you don't give your children the ability to think that I want to be a good citizen, I want to have a good character, I want to have a good recommendation from people, I want to have a future for myself, I want to be responsible for what I do. There are so many things that we need to teach children by taking them to so many places. In the environment where we grow now, every parent is almost like just busy with only work. They don't know taking a child out to a cinema will give the child a memory of one good thing or a bad thing. If you take a child to a cinema and he sees a movie that would give him a ginger in his heart to think, I want to be this, I want to be that, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be that, you're already molding the character of that child.
Thank you, Barrister Adesanya.
Well.
Dr. Ademolu, your part in short, please.
Well, I just feel that everybody must be conscious of the fact that we all have a role to play,
Very well.
either as a child or as parents, to sort of guide the individual in a behavioral pattern that will show patriotism and show love for the society generally. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Ademolu, I must commend you and I must appreciate you. Barrister Adesanya, I must appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
I want to believe when next we call on you, you will answer us and you will be here. Thank you so much. And this is where we'll be drawing the curtain of today's show on peace and conflict resolution. And before I go on the show, don't forget, you and I can build a peaceful nation if we appreciate the importance of peace in our society. I am Oba Seunfunmi Ogunleye. See you same time, same station next week. Goodbye.